Hello friends, let's continue our journey to learn generative AI, Agentic AI. So today we will understand the Agentic AI workflows, how to implement multi-agent solutions using Agentic AI workflows. So Agentic AI workflows is like suppose a user connects to and interacts with the solution, it will provide its intent while having a dialogue. So there needs to be an orchestrator agent which can understand the goals from those intent and segregate the goals if there are multiple goals in a single intent and process it. Like suppose it could be related to booking a flight, booking a taxi, booking a hotel, a customer agent to a workflow solution, or a solution for any of the let's see more examples as we progress. Okay, so different agents will be there for different roles. So when you in a workflow, if automatically once the flight is booked, it should book the hotel and it should have the taxi booked. So the context would be the past history, user preferences, and the budget, and what kind of hotels is wants to book, and the similarly taxi or the car rental. Okay, using that context, the agent should be able to work. Once the hotel booking details are taken, the rest of the thing should be automated and without user input. Okay, and it could be a intelligent agentic workflow solution. Suppose the person is at a airport and the flight gets cancelled, or due to some bad weather or some other conditions, immediately agent should be able to take the input and book the next flight. It should be able to automatically cancel the hotel bookings, the car rentals, and able to book it once the new flight is booked. Okay, so how such grouping can be done with the help of line graph. So in the line graph we can define nodes and edges. So LangChain, LangGraph, and Langsmith are the three libraries which are used for building agentic workflow solutions. And once this multiple agents works, the information flows from one agent to another agent. How the shared state can be maintained. Okay, so if you are using Azure AI Foundry, Cosmos DBs can be used. If it's you are using AWS, DynamoDB can be used for the shared content. And in a simple solution, an object can be created, and that object can have all the attributes which stores the information, and that information can be used by different agents. Right, so a user has an intent to book the flight, so the agent will understand it. Then to book the flight, the agent should be able to gather all the information about booking the flight, source, destination, budget, time of which date want to travel. Okay, it will and then it can be implemented in a sequential form, or it can be done in a parallel form. So once the flight is booked, the hotel and the taxi can be booked in parallel, or in a sequential form. First book the flight, then book the hotel, then we know the source and destination of travel to book the taxi. Yeah. So let's understand what is the pros and cons for each of those different mechanisms, whether it's a serial, parallel, or orchestration, hierarchical, right? Okay. So in a simple agentic solution, single agent, one can specify the API calls to book the flight, and then API calls to book the hotel and to the taxi. So in that we can provide a sample different task and the sample script on how to once the input is available for book the flight, and accordingly take the context from the user preference, knowledge base, and the APIs, and do the one booking after the other. So the single agent will do everything. Only thing is, in this case, when the agent is doing a single agent, if there is any one failure or if there is any human intervention required, it is difficult to have it. And then if there are any logs generated or auditing, that becomes difficult for every task. Okay, so what are the limits if we do in a single agent doing all the tasks, and advantage of doing in a multitask systems? Okay, so other thing is, like when someone wants to use this systems and does the interaction to book a flight. So many of those flight booking search itself is mostly used, and then so the workload is more. So in a distributed solution, there could be more instances of the agents to search the flight, and after those searches, very few users will book the flight. So accordingly, if with few instances are good enough to book the flight, and the reminder is at the time of when the user wants to travel. So much more less number of agents instances are required to give the alert. Okay, so orchestration is the agent which will, when the user intent is given, it will break into the multiple tasks, whether it is only about flight booking, whether or it is about hotel booking or the car rentals, and what should be the what is the score of each of these questions provided. That will be taken care by the next agent. Yeah, so in a simple, the other things which have not been shown here is the guardrail, which is to filter whether the query is related to the solution. Like now, the specialist agents will have the dedicated roles and tools. So in our case, in this example, there will be a special agent to book the flight, another agent to do the hotel booking, and the third to do the taxi. And within these agents, there would be multiple goals, and to achieve those goals, there would be tool API calls, or there would be interaction with the knowledge base, collecting the user chat history or user profile. All those things will be done by the goals in based on what the agent is supposed to do. Now suppose user is planning the travel, and the user provides the details to the system while having a dialogue. So that input needs to be broken down, and needs to be done in a sequential operation for booking the flight, then booking the hotel, and then finally booking the taxi or a car rental. Yeah. So what are the different specialized agents required? Flight booking, hotel booking, taxi booking, and finally giving the reminder. So what all flight booking should be able to do? It should be able to access the airline API. That is how it should be able to only be able to provide what all flights are available on that given day, and based on the criteria the user has given. Similarly, hotel booking should be able to access the API and see how many rooms are available and different hotels, and what is the pricing of it, and so on. Whether it's having breakfast, not having breakfast, all such information hotel booking API should be able to gather. The agent should be able to interact and gather. Similarly, for taxi booking, whether it's a user wants to have a sedan or a SUV or a black SUV with 7-seater, 10-seater, based on the number of people traveling. Yeah, so another smart solution, there might be 10 people traveling, and based on that, the agent should not book 10 different vehicles, but be able to calculate number of people traveling and accordingly book only one or two vehicles to accommodate all the people. Okay, the workflow in motion, booking the core trip. So in a linear fashion, it will go one after the other. The only thing is it takes time, and user has to wait for the final output. Also, in a really linear fashion, we are sure that once step is done, only then the next step is done. If one of the step fails, the next step is blocked until the middle step is completed. So like once the flight booking is done, hotel and taxi booking can be done in parallel. If it is done in sequential, taxi booking will wait until the hotel booking is not done. Okay. So like if you are booking in a parallel, the hotel booking, once then the taxi booking is done and the reminder agent is set with all the information with the event triggering, the agent will activate and provide the reminder to the user who has done the booking. Okay, so if we want to do a workflow solution, we will define the nodes. So in this case, the nodes are the agents which will do the task, which will call the APIs and get the information, and the edges are the one which defines the based on the condition or the outcome. If there is a if else multiple outputs, there will be multiple if else. If there is a single yes no, accordingly the edges will activate the next agent to work on based on the outcome of the previous agent, right? So here is how the Langgraph object will look like, where the three nodes are defined for agents, flight agent, hotel agent, and and how those two nodes are interacting. So after the flight agent, the hotel agent is called. So this is the example of how to create the nodes and edges in a Langgraph object. So whenever a Langgraph object instance is created, it first will call the flight agent, then it will call the hotel agent. Okay, so how to share the state maintaining the context. So as I mentioned, in case of Azure we use Cosmos DB, in case of AWS we use DynamoDB, or in a simple solution you create a simple class object which based on your solution it will have the information of the user profile, the questions asked, and the weightage score of each of those questions, and if the next agents have gathered all that information, what was the output received and the score of each of the output, and so on. Okay, yeah. Okay, so the same solution can be implemented in different way, sequential way, parallel way, and the supervisor way. So in a sequential way, a flight booking is done, then the hotel booking and the taxi. Okay, and it is simple to build and predictable. Yes, we know like if the flight booking is done, the next is hotel going to call, and if the hotel booking is failed, then the taxi booking is still pending. So we need to with human intervention applied, once the hotel booking is done, the taxi should get done automatically. In the parallel collaboration, once the flight is booked, the agent, the Langgraph will know, and based if it is booked, it will call pass on hotel and taxi in parallel. If the flight booking is failed, it will reach the end and wait for the user input. Yeah. So the state has to be managed, and hotel and taxi agent will check whether the flight booking was done or not. And in such cases, we can do a retry mechanisms. If the flight booking fails in first attempt, the agent tries the second attempt by sending the information, calling the API, post API again and again. So after multiple failures, there can be a reflector agent to correct the input if there is something missing, or ask the user to provide more information. So in case of supervisor agent, in a single agent, you are defining like to call the flight in case of flight booking, then flight booking is done, and call the hotel booking, and then the taxi booking. So the script of the task will have all this sample interaction between the agent and the user, and referring to that in the real time instance, the execution will be done. Right. So while these agents are operating, what kind of challenges a solution may face? So there could be a coordination friction between the agent. So the agent role and the task should be clearly defined. The script should be clear. It should not be ambiguous. The task which was done in the first agent should not get repeated in the following agents. So while execution, there could be error. It could be a LLM getting blocked and not able to respond. It could be a API which is not responding, or the server is down, and the context may get broken. So the user profile context, the chat history context, and the domain knowledge context, all three should be updated and available to the system. Okay. So how to overcome the coordination friction? So what kind of so as I mentioned, the responsibilities should be clear and concise. It should not be repeating and among each agent. Okay, so each agent's role should be clearly defined within the orchestrator, so it knows which agent to call for which kind of task. Yeah. What if API fails? It could fail because of timeout. It could be invalid data, and so on. So that agent should graciously handle all the errors and respond back to the user to try it again, or give the human intervention option, where instead of an agent, a live agent from the customer service should be able to start the interaction with the user and do the needful. Yeah. So the retry logic, so it's a safety net, all should be provided, and in case of fatal errors, the recovery should be possible. Okay. So how the context fragmentation can be prevented? One is that if the context is becoming too long, we need to shorten it by doing this, getting the summary of it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So user profile should be saved in the database, the vector database along, and then it should also have the knowledge base of the domain. Like here, it's the flight booking. So this vector database can be separate for a different purpose, and so that it can be queried into parallel by this each of those agents handling different tasks. So we let's see what other solutions we can implement Agentic for Flow. So like customer support of any industry or a domain. There are L1 support, L2 support, L3 support. So if all the past history of the support tickets is put into the knowledge base, including what was the action taken, whenever any new user comes up with any question, the system should be able to retrieve the information, and the L1 support should be able to guide the user to troubleshoot it and fix the issue. At times, because of this, L2 and L3 support staff size will reduce, because the agents will help and play that role of what L2 and L3 does. Similarly, in an e-commerce site, there are different products we tend to buy or we look for, and we miss other related products to buy. So recommendation engines are built based on agentic workflow to provide those kind of in details to the user and get more business. In case of healthcare, suppose a patient is wants to schedule an appointment or do other get reminders. So all those things can be built using a workflow. Suppose a user needs an appointment and user completes the appointment and then does not pay the bill. So at that time, agents can automatically send the reminders to the patient and also send reminders for taking the medicines. Okay. So what are the advantages of using the agentic workflow solution? So one is modularity. Different agents are doing specific tasks. If in the runtime any agent needs to be replaced, if you are doing A/B testing and realize the other version of the same agent is working better, all such with modularity replacing becomes easy. Okay. It leads to efficiency, parallelism, so multiple agents can work in parallel. Here we can use parallel algorithm, critical path length, and decide what workflow is good for reducing the latency. So multiple agents also provides flexibility and smaller tasks, less number of tokens are available. So that is the other advantage. If you are doing multiple tasks in a single agent, your context size will increase, your number of tokens will increase, and based on what kind of LLM models or the vector embedding models are used, which has limitation on the maximum tokens accepted. And finally, observability. We with the help of graph and you can visualize which node has failed, which is not operating, both in Azure and other AI Foundry and other solutions. One can track using which node was failed in the form of logs, or even in step functions in AWS. After every task is executed, those details can be seen in the form of visualization instead of digging into the logs. So if you design your first agentic workflow solution, what all things you need to do? First define the shared state schema, so the object which is used across all the agents. So you need to understand end-to-end requirement and a solution design for it. So that will help to create a good state of first object. Yeah, and then you need to segregate the planner from the actor. So the planner and the orchestrator, when input it comes, what are the different tasks it should be able to define. Whether it's a flight booking or a taxi booking or a hotel booking, and the next agent where the actual actors will come into play. Whether so as a flight agent, I should be able to book the flight. As a hotel agent, I should be able to book the hotel. As a taxi provider, I should be able to book a taxi for you. Yeah. So now let's understand by doing the quiz how much we understood the subject. So the first question is, what is the primary function of orchestration in an agentic workflow? So here are the options and here is the hint. Next question, In the context of Lang graph, what to do the nodes represent? Here are the options, and here is the hint. Next question. Which collaboration strategy is being used when a flight booking and a hotel booking are processed simultaneously? Here is the options, and here are the hints. What is the defining characteristic of a hierarchical agent collaboration strategy? Here are the options, and here is the hint. Which challenge specifically addresses the difficulty of keeping an AI agent from asking for information the user has already provided to a different agent? Here are the options, and here is the hint. You can pause and read the options and hint, and then solve the quiz. Next question. How does an LLM function as a router in an agentic workflow? Here is the options, and here is the hint. In the airline travel example, what would be the primary responsibility of the reminder agent? Here are the options. Here is the hint. Next question. Which of the following is considered a key benefit of a modular agentic workflow? Here are the options, and here is the hint. Next question. In a line graph workflow, what is the role of an edge? So here is the options, and here is the hint. Last question. Which real-world use case involves routing, patient scheduling, and sending follow-up alerts using agentic workflow? Here are the options, and here is the hint. So, do we view the initial videos on upskilling, what is agentic AI, what is prompt engineering, what is context management, how to use retrieval augmented generation, and then come to this topic of agentic workflow. How to create agentic workflow. You need to understand different design patterns. I have created one video on domain agnostic solutions. There I have listed out all the design patterns, and you need to use guardrails to filter the input and also filter the output language. I look forward to you listening your comments, and I will share the next video very soon. Thank you.